Welcome to the Heart-Led Business Show, where compassion meets commerce and leaders lead with love. Join your host, Tom Jacobs, as he delves into the insightful conversations with visionary business leaders who defy the status quo, putting humanity first and profit second. From heartfelt strategies to inspiring stories, this podcast is your compass in the world of conscious capitalism. So buckle up and let your heart guide your business journey.
Well, welcome back to the Heart-Led Business Show, where passion meets purpose and profit doesn't take itself too seriously. Today, we have a real gem for you. Meet Faust Ruggiero. With over 35 years as a psychologist, Faust has traversed the tangled tapestry of life, from prisons to playgrounds, weaving wisdom into every corner. He's the mastermind behind the Fix Yourself Empowerment series, helping folks tackle life's tricky tribulations. So get ready as we dive into Faust's heart-led journey in business. A delightful dance of passion and expertise awaits. Faust, welcome to the show.
Tom, thanks so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be spending time with you today.
I'm really excited about our conversation as well, especially the prisons to playgrounds and getting the backstory on that. But of course, the first thing that I always like to ask is, what's your definition of a heart-led business?
Oh, I love the question, to be honest with you. I've always had just a different word that I've always used, and for me, it's connectivity, authentic connectivity. That's the key. When I talk about heart-led, I always tell people, your business is your business family. And if you're going to treat them as less, then you will have problems. It's staying connected on all levels. And what people have done, what business does, is they tend to like to kind of, be economical in the way they do things. So, I'm at this level, then I got you 3 or 4 at this level, and then you got your guys on the floor, and you guys connect with them, and then you get back to me in the meeting that I'm thrilled to be having with you, and we're all connected. And that is anything but connectivity. That is disconnectivity. That is not heart-led. That is just simply saying, I'm at this level, I don't go back. You guys handle all that kind of stuff. And if the top person isn't doing it, the rest are going to follow that lead in some way. Now you don't have a heart-led business. Now you have one that is designed really, the ledger business, I call them. That's the bottom line business. And if that's what you're going to take care of and not your employees and not have that connectivity, eventually you have problems and your bottom line's affected. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. And it's a shame that many business owners that can just look at that bottom line don't actually realize that, the long-term taking care of people, being connected, like you say, really does pay off in the long term, but they're so short-sighted. I'm curious, being in psychology, is there something that is in our brains that makes some people think that way versus the connectivity?
Yeah, the same people who don't do this are people who are really not great communicators. They have mastered the talk, but they have not mastered the connectivity of the talk. They're not good confronters. They don't do well in situations, and they tend to be protective people. If I get heart-led and I kind of try to connect with my employees, you know what'll happen, don't you? They'll take advantage of me. And they firmly believe that separation is necessary. Yeah. I would tell the story of a company. It's 37 years I'm working with this company in a capacity where I work with the HR people. And I remember when the HR person hired me way back in the late 80s, he said, I'd love to bring you aboard, but I can get 100 of you. What's going to set you out? What's going to set you aside from them? And I said, well, I want to get in there and know everybody. And that answer just floored him. He said, well, I'm going to call you on that. They had 500 employees at the time. He said, I want to take you through business. I want you to, it's a foundry. They cast metal and metal pieces, valves and things like that. And I want you just to go in and see all the people working their machines. And so you can really see what goes on in our factory. Now, the type of person I am, I love people. I love to shake hands, get a hug, what have you, So as I went in, he said, wear jeans and, t-shirt. So I went in and guy's at his machine and I shook his hand. Hi, nice to meet you. At the end of the thing, we had gone through 3-hour tour. He said, You did what I wanted you to do. You connected with all the employees. Can you keep on doing that? Of course. And I'm still doing it today. So I provide that link for those for that business. I know now the business is now worldwide, 10 or so countries. We have 3 in the area where I live. So I know almost all the employees, and I will go back and forth and say, well, so-and-so's got an issue with this. We need to get on that person. And this one's got this going on. Could be, we had one that was just high blood pressure, but got to the point where, I could see it, and I relate it to medical, and medical pulls him in, and it was like 170 over 130, and off to the hospital he goes. If you don't, now you may look at that and say, we're spending a lot of time just on doing this employee thing, but that was a key employee on the floor, was a manager. And if we lose him, trying to replace him was going to be a problem. We'd have lost money. But the other part of it is we might have lost the employee. And all it is, so your heartfelt business and how you deal with it is connectivity. A guy at the top should be going through the company and shaking hands and looking in people's eyes and asking them how they are. And if you do it once a month, those employees change the way they work. Hey, he took time for me.
Yeah.
Guarantee it works.
And of course, we always have the exception, right? I had a job, I worked in oil and gas for 12 years. And I had a manager for a while that just stay in his office. It only came out when there was a problem and had to yell at somebody. I was like, God, this guy's such a jackass. It was so bad. And you could tell versus the previous manager I had, same company, super helpful, always was out around people. And his department was doing so much better than the other guy's department. It's a stark difference when you have that connectivity and lead with the heart.
Tom, it's interesting that I'll get an excuse that I'm sure you've heard this many times. We don't have the time to do all that. And I say, I always talk about what I call the credit card principle. You can pay this now. You can go in there and do all these things. Or when the train comes off the track just a little bit, you can spend 3 or 4 times the amount of time and money and resources to get it back on track. These people, particularly union shops, will say, well, if you're not going to worry about us, union's got my back. I'll give you 70%. I'll give you 80%. I'll give you what I think you're giving me. And, so they raise the salary. Okay, we give you a couple dollars more an hour, and that's great, but I still come into the same conditions. You don't tell me I did a great job. You don't tell me, hey, ask me, how's the family? How's everything going? But doggone it, if I make a mistake on the job, you're right there to say, oh boy, simple questions. Hey, how you doing? How's the family? How's everything going for you? Just thought, I was thinking about you. How's it? Just, taking care of your employees. Simple. It's like 10 seconds with an employee, but you look the person in the eye. That's key. You don't walk in and just, if you're looking around, do a quick, okay, I got you. I'm over this right away. If you and I are doing the interview and I'm over here doing something, you're going to say, I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. It's got to be genuine. And it's simple to do. Yeah. I go in businesses and train them, and they all say, oh, we all got this. And I say, great, let me see. And I ask them to demonstrate it. Let's go back. Let me see you do it. And when they'll look at me and say, okay, fine, let's do it. And so how you doing? And I say, what's his name? It might be a shop with maybe 50 employees. You don't know everybody by name at 50 people? You should. You don't know them. I watched you. You didn't shake their hand. You didn't look in their eyes. And you can see that you had one foot in the conversation and one ready to walk away. You're getting in there. It's like you want to give them the bear hug. You want to let them know, I love you. I got you. Whatever you need. Yeah. I always tell people, where I am. You know when to reach me. Call me anytime.
Yeah. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And it took me a while in business to really learn that. And in the last 10 years, I think it's been about 10 years where I've done a much better job connecting with employees. It makes life so much easier for everybody. Because I think in the back of my mind, I always thought, well, it's the money. most people are motivated by money, and that's all it's going to take is just, showing them appreciation with $1 versus giving them $1 and give them appreciation, and the performance goes through the roof.
I tell people, Tom, if you don't want to get heartfelt about this, get strategic. Okay, you have all these business plans, all these programs you bring in to make your business more efficient. If your goal is productivity and the bottom line, you should be able to say, a happy employee gets me to that bottom line. Why in the world would you not want to do it? At the very least, to say, hey, I make more money. This company makes more money. I get better bonuses, whatever. If these people are motivated to work for me, so I got to go do what I need to do to motivate them. And money's only one part of it. That's only one. The other part is I'm gonna look you in the eye. I get this company that they've been doing golf outings, family things. They set up once or twice a year where they put up a big food tent, and the employees are all able to take their breaks. And someone, when we were talking about that, said, we lose part of a day of work. I said, you will gain it back tenfold, because they're going to say, I work for a company, first of all, that has an employee assistance program. That's me. That said, he'll come in anytime. If I call him at 12 o'clock at night, 2 a.m, he answers the phone. I got that. Look at the little things they do for us. The food court they put up, the baseball family game they put on every year, the golf outing they do. They put trips to go to the various baseball games or what have you. They do all these little things, and they come back into the shop.
Yeah.
They know people. So if I get something, I might call the HR person and say, hey, Larry over there's got some issues with this. I'm hearing it from the guys back there. Then they won't call him out. They'll just walk back and say, hey, Larry, what's up? As they see 3 or 4 of them, and they'll look at him. You okay? You don't look okay. And now we got Larry in the fold, if you will. And he's talking about, this happened at home, or my grandmother's in the hospital, whatever it may be. And Larry says, wow, they cared about that. Has nothing to do with work. Larry doesn't forget that.
Yeah. Now, do you find that when you have that good balance of giving compliments and being heart-led and having that connection with the employees, that it makes it a lot easier to have the more difficult conversations, or the radical candor that some people are talking about?
Yeah, and we have employees like that all the time. Where we'll say, this guy's just not doing what he's supposed to do, or he's late, he's calling off a lot, those kind of things. Now I can go in and I'll say, hey, first of all, how's everything going? And appreciate the job you're doing. I'm going to say, but I got to talk to you about a couple things. So we care about you. I'm going to make sure that everything's all right in your life. But here's what I see. Performance, I know what you're capable of. I see you all the time. That's down a little bit. You call off a few times. You've been late. Now, I know you. You're a good employee, and I'm concerned that you're okay. I just approach that a whole different way than go up and say, hey, what is it with you? The last 4 days, I'm getting next to nothing from you. If the guy's already having problems, or the person is already having problems, I just piled another one on him.
Yep.
But when I said, I got you, however, let's understand that I got you, we're going to do what we can, but this is a job and you're running this machine, or you have this responsibility that's got to come up. So let's do what we need to do to help you, your family, if necessary, and get you back to work, to productivity. Let's talk about it. Let's have the conversation. They're almost always willing to go there.
Yeah.
A lot of times they've been waiting for someone, but they can't. They just can't do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel embarrassed or uncomfortable bringing some of the more personal things up, especially at work. But so if you have one of those conversations with the employee, but they're still not performing after that, like at what point do you just, the hammer comes down and it's like, look, we can't have you here.
There are 2 kinds of hammers. The first one is the softer hammer. That's the rubber mallet, if you will. And that's where it says, okay, I had the conversation with you. Now, in order to keep your job, I'm going to refer you to our company EAP person, or I want you to go out and get yourself involved with a counselor or a doctor, whatever it is, because I've asked, we've talked about it. You work here, your productivity has to come up. I'm concerned about you. So my next step is to make it mandatory. You need to go and let me know that you're counseling. And if you do that, we're okay. If you should say no, then I may have to let you go.
Okay. Yeah.
I put back in his hands. I didn't put the hammer down. Now, if I have to bring the hammer later, there's been the initial conversation where I said, I'm caring about you, love you, want to help you out. The second one, which says, okay, you didn't respond, so it's something a little bit deeper here. You need to go get yourself help. I want you to do that if you're going to continue to work here. If you say no, then I have my third hammer, and that's where you brought me.
Yeah.
But I know I did everything I can.
Yeah. And it should never be a surprise.
Yeah. I love that.
So shifting gears just a little bit, curious about the prisons to playground. So tell us about the experience that you've had in working in correction facilities.
I came out of grad school, Tom, and you get 2 or 3 jobs, small things. I was in a nursing home and an alcohol counseling center. I got myself certified in addiction, and the opportunity came up to see a few people in the prison as I was working as an alcohol counselor. I said, sure, why not? It was only 2 or 3 inmates, and I said, great. And then I thought we did real well, and it didn't intimidate me in any way. 3 or 4 months later, the prison called and said, look, we're going to expand, and we're looking for another treatment staff person. Are you interested in going full time? And thought about it. For one thing, the pay was much better. It was a government job, if you will. So benefit. So that was nice, but it was an opportunity to treat all different kinds of people and get, myself into something that was not traditional at all. It's always nice to have all these reference points when we counsel. So I said, sure, why not? Turned out to be one of the, more significant moves I've made in my life. Not only because you see people for what they are, but you've got to go deeper inside yourself to make some things work. But when you talk about heartfelt, I could have said, you're inmates, you did these, and a lot of people did. I went humanistically. The way I dealt with them, and I saw it work. And some tried to manipulate. We see those, but other people were saying things like, no one's ever treated me this way. They throw me in a cell and they don't care. I've had this all my life. And now someone said, hey, I got your back. You got things to do. That's the black and white of it, but I'm here and I'll listen to you. How many people I see burn out and get into their substances and whatever it is, because they really don't care much about what they do. They care about that paycheck. But those moments are going by in your life every day, and you're working there. So, if your whole life is about your paycheck and what you can do with it, and then 8 hours a day or whatever it is, you're not liking what you do or the people you're working with, there's a problem. So the first thing, for me is I love what I do. I have 3 businesses going. I have my counseling program, and I see about 25, 30 we're getting ready to publish my 6th book. So that's the publishing business is another one. We have the interviews that I do. We have the whole publishing business has its staff that we do. Now we're getting into some television things that we do. So, and then I have the EAP that I'm doing. There's a lot of irons in the fire, but all of them are put in a perspective every day. Each gets its time. I love what I do. And the key is, and this is the neat part if you're doing it right, it's not work. People say, well, how do you balance work and play? I don't need to. I don't ever want to. I want to get up every day and you mentioned the word, I'm in my playground and I'm going to do this interview. I'm going to do one with a producer this afternoon. I'm going to counsel 7 people today. I'm going to edit the book we're getting ready to run. So people look and say, my God, what are you doing? And I'm saying, calmly going from one place to another. Involved in there, I will put a 45-minute stretch out where I can go back down in my little training center that we have, and I'm going to work out for that 45 minutes. And then by 8 o'clock tonight, I'll kind of be done. It'll be a 12-hour day. And I will not be, I'm so glad. I will be, feel great and good. And I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours with my wife, and we're going to sit down and enjoy time together. And, that's the way it's supposed to be. And if you're not making it go there, I think you have to look at not at your circumstances, but at yourself and find out, what am I doing wrong here?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful too. And seeing work as a playground, and I love how you said it too about, well, how do you balance work and life? I was like, well, it is, right? There is no balance. It is, and that's a really testament to loving what you do, and that old sage advice or the saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that's,
I go into our businesses and I work with the HR departments, and I say, look, yes, you're overworked. Yep, you're underpaid. All that's there.
Yep.
You got into this job to be with people. Do you love people? Most of them say yes.
Yeah.
If you do, then walk in here and say, let's go. Let me go get these people. Let me go enjoy my time. I got paperwork and I got meetings and I got all that stuff that I have to do. But when I have a few moments, I'm going back, and I might only touch 4 or 5 people today. Next day, I might get 10. Maybe one day I have a whole lot of time and I'll spend an hour out there.
Yeah.
Go enjoy it. There are going to be parts. None of us love the paperwork. Okay.
Right.
We do it. Okay. It's part of it. The key is, and that's the new book I'm writing, internal languages. What you put in your head, that's good. Whatever you do, the thoughts you put in your head are exactly how you're going to behave. So get your head where it needs to be. Enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, you probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah. No, that self-talk is so important too, that I think, I guess I've heard that it's kind of true that humans, we have a negative bias. And so we automatically just, everything catastrophizes. And I'm really good at catastrophizing. I think I've gotten better over time, but it's going to be the end of the world and this doesn't go right. And now it's just like, if it happens, it happens, but I'm going to do the best that I can, and I'm going to enjoy the ride as long as I'm here.
I tell people when it comes time, and business people, I've been working with this concept for years. When they come in and they have that mindset, I will say, the first thing you do is hit a pause button, say, I'm not going to think about that. The second thing you would say, I'm going to think about this. Third thing you do is develop that new thought. So you walk in and you say, all right, I got that manager, that boss, whatever, that supervisor, I really don't like to work with. I'm getting that out of my head because I have to go in and work with them. Why would I want to beat myself up? I stop thinking about that. I'm going to think about doing this. Now I'm going to go do it. Most of the time that's going to work. Every now and then it gets to be a little more intense, but it's really about training your brain to move away from negative dialogue. Because if I walk into a business, I'll walk into meetings, I know we have a couple of difficult people there and we have a situation that was not good, something happened. So, the rest are saying, oh God, this is going to be a rough meeting. And I'm walking in and saying, okay, give me that information and let's get to the solution. That may sound like I'm trying to throw fluff at you, but in my mind, that is the only way to deal with it.
Yeah.
If you went in there and defeated already, why walk in? You already got your conclusion. Walk in there and say, let's get the information, and we are going to put a solution on this, and we're going to work together and make it happen as best we can, and you will.
Yeah. I love that. It's so great. So what piece of advice would you give to a heart-led business owner that might be struggling right now with the profit side and the business side that maybe you've experienced and would love to share that?
Yeah, what I do is I tell them, and I do this from time to time, and the key is not to wait until you struggle. That's the problem. We like to go on autopilot. We put the program in, we go, and and then all of a sudden we think it's all of us. The curve went down. I said, the curve did not just go down. It was going down, and you didn't take care of business. I tell people, and what I do is I appraise my businesses every month. every other week, I go through them and I say, where are we on this? Okay, what needs to be done? What do I need to pull out? At the end of my day, every day, the phrase I say is, I want my desk cleaned off and ready for the next day. I want my life, my work life from today, put where it needs to be. It's in perspective. So tomorrow, I'm not picking up what I had to do yesterday. So the key is to constantly be appraising what you're doing. If you can do it every day, you're not micromanaging. That's the thing. I want people, you're just appraising where it is. Where are we today? All right, let me look at it. Guys come in, if they run 3 shifts, what do we do? Supervisor from the first shift stays 15 minutes, or the next supervisor comes in early, and they have that overlap, and they say, here's what happened. Here's all the things we need to know. So you need to know this, and this is what was done. And that is the communication. That's the connectivity from shift to shift. Connectivity means, again, constantly appraising where you are and getting your people to do the same, and then coming in and being solution oriented in those meetings. And so you don't leave and people say, okay, yeah, got that, and they all run away. Because the next thing is to be able to be accountable. Okay, last meeting, we said this, and this. Tell me what you did. And we have to do those things all the time. If we do those things, that doesn't say we're going to survive all the time. Most of the time we will, though. Sometimes it's just the economy or somebody or your major customer says, sorry, we're out of business and we're going elsewhere. And it happens. But for the most part, you have to control what you are capable of controlling. And it's work. It's your job. Get in there, work hard, do what you're supposed to do. Get away from, the owners, get away from the hour lunch breaks where you had 2 drinks. That's insane. Why would you even think about doing that during a workday?
Right.
You're connecting with no one. So again, my thing is to constantly be appraising, transition where I have to. And the last piece with the big piece, get your ego out of it. I don't care if you're the boss, the president of the company. I don't care if you wear your $2,000 suits and drive your $150,000 car and live in your mansion. You better check your ego at the door when you walk into your business, because your ego will do nothing but destroy every bit of connectivity and heart-led strategy that you need. Check your ego at the door.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant advice, because that's going to shut down any good ideas as well. If the ego is too strong, nobody. And I worked for a boss like that, where you just try to say something, that's a stupid idea, and then 2 weeks later he's like, oh, I got this great idea. We should do this.
He did.
Yeah. Check that ego. Oh, that's awesome. Boss, how can people learn a little bit more about what you do and potentially get in contact with you?
Best way Tom is just to go to my website. It's my name, FaustRuggiero.com. Everything about me is there. Books I write, excerpts are there. Connection link is there. When I do these kind of interviews, I get a lot of business people that'll, send me a text, or HR people, and they'll say, I got a question. How can we do this? And I'll be glad to answer. It doesn't cost anything, for me to answer a question. So anyone who wants to get in contact with me, the contact link is there.
Awesome. Great. We'll link all that up into the show notes. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today and spending a little bit of time with me. I really appreciate it. It's been a fascinating conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, Tom.
Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this episode of the Heart-Led Business Show. I really appreciate it. And make sure you're checking out everything that Faust is doing. And we're going to provide all of those links down into the show notes so that you can easily just click away and check out what he's doing. And also, while you're down there, there's probably a review button. So if you could do me a favor and just hit that little review button, give it 5 stars, and that really helps spread the word about the show and help more people that want to have a heart-led business. So until next time, lead with your heart.
You've been listening to the Heart-Led Business Show, hosted by Tom Jacobs. Join us next time for another inspiring journey into the heart of business.